Tacticon is here. From Hooded Horse and Firesquid, hosted on Steam and supposedly spotlighting the best in strategy gaming. In practice, you'll scroll through games you've never heard of, a few that don't belong, and some absolute bangers that deserve your time and dollars. These 10 fall into the last category. If you're watching this, hit that subscribe button. Xenonauts 2 is a grounded, low-frills tactics game in the XCOM mould, but where Firaxis leans cinematic, this sticks to spreadsheets and Cold War paranoia. The sequel moves to a 3D engine with camera rotation and zoom, adds new mission types beyond simple alien elimination, and includes human enemies called cleaners alongside the extraterrestrial threats. You manage interception squads, ground teams, tech trees, and funding councils with just enough UI friction to remind you this is war, not theatre. If you've got time for careful positioning and don't need your aliens to explode in particle effects, this is a clean, competent evolution. Old World looks like another Civ clone until you play it, then you realise it's doing about 6 things better. Turns are structured around orders, not unit spam. Leaders age, die, and leave behind dynasties. Events feel like something a writer worked on, not a random number table. It's been out a while, but it's still getting updates and deserves far more attention than it gets, especially from players who think Civ peaked 2 sequels ago. This looks like a city builder, but it plays like a logistics sim with concrete textures. Every bus route, substation and warehouse needs to be wired into your supply chain manually. Miss a power line and the factory shuts down. Place a road wrong and deliveries back up across the map. It left early access after years of development, and what's there now is cold, complex and brutally detailed. You're expected to figure it out yourself. If that sounds like a challenge, then it probably is. Espiocracy is a grand strategy game built around espionage. You operate through spy networks, staged uprisings, and quiet pressure campaigns, not armies. Influence is currency, disinformation is a tool. The timeline spans over a century and the map's familiar, but the goals are different. This is about soft power and shadow moves, not territory and troop counts. It's dense, abstract in places, and unapologetically focused on systems over spectacle. Built for the patient and the paranoid. Kaizerpunk starts as a logistics-heavy city builder and expands into a full-scale global strategy game. You manage coal, steel, electricity and morale, building a functioning industrial city in a world where the First World War never ended. Then the map zooms out, trade routes, military expansion, diplomacy, all built on the back of the city you developed. It borrows heavily from Anno, but it's not a clone. The economy drives everything. Your city's output feeds your global reach. Mess up the supply chain and your expansion stalls. It's ambitious in scope and sharp in presentation, but some systems are clearly more developed than others. The city building works and the global layer looks good, but it doesn't always justify itself. Still, this is one of the only games at Tacticon trying to bridge city builders and grand strategy at this scale. Even when it stumbles, it's aiming far beyond the usual loop of laying roads and waiting for graphs to rise. Amplitude's returning to Auriga with Endless Legend 2, building one of the few 4X games that didn't feel like a Civ mod. The original made faction design count, not statistics but mechanics, playstyles and priorities. The sequel brings that same philosophy forward. City expansion, exploration, economy, all present but laid with ideological systems that shape what your faction can do and how it develops. Unit design is still modular, quests still push you beyond the usual map churn, the visuals are stronger, and the interface looks built for clarity rather than flash. Core appeal hasn't changed, asymmetric empires with real differences, set in a world that doesn't sit there waiting to be tamed. From what's been shown, this isn't a safe sequel, it's trying to evolve a system that already worked, which most developers, I'm looking at you Firaxis, won't risk. Menace is a turn-based tactics game where everything is built to collapse, the terrain, your plans, and any illusion of control. You lead a squad through combat zones that fall apart around you, cover crumbles under fire while sightlines shift between turns. Firefights spiral out of control as the more you try to stabilise the fight, the more the environment pushes back. The mission structure is built around pressure, enemies press the advantage, flanks open up, and the tools you bring are only as good as your ability to adapt on the fly. There's no safety in routine, you make calls, commit fast, and hope the next shot doesn't expose your entire line. Between missions you manage your squad, gear, roster, upgrades, but it's all in service of surviving the next drop. Pacing looks sharp and the decisions don't seem interested in being clean or fair. If it works, it'll reward players who think in real time and aren't waiting for the perfect move. Menace is still unreleased, which means the environmental destruction could turn into a gimmick that wears thin after the first few missions. Systems that sound brutal can end up clumsy when they have to carry an entire game. But from what's been shown, this one doesn't care if you're comfortable, and that's exactly what tactics games need more of. Frostpunk 2 drops you into a city that has already been through disaster. The immediate crisis has passed, and what remains is damaged, divided, and barely functional. Resources are limited, trust is lower, the machines still run, but the people running them are colder than the climate. Your job is to keep it all from breaking: industry, order, leadership, while the underlying problems that caused the first collapse continue to fester. The sequel shifts focus from emergency survival to slow collapse. Instead of reacting to a single external threat, you're dealing with a population that's tired of rebuilding. Political factions form and grow stronger. Laws are met with resistance. Every decision adds pressure. Expand industry and you run short on workers. Prioritise housing and production suffers. Let the arguments continue and stability drops while tempers rise. Systems that were once about triage now demand long-term planning. You still control energy, food, construction and workforce management, but none of those exist in isolation. Everything you do is watched, measured and resented by someone. Your authority is limited, but what little you do have must be used carefully. The city no longer runs on hope or fear, it runs because it has to. The only thing holding it together is your ability to manage fallout faster than it accumulates. The game focuses on delay rather than rebuilding, the systems are heavier, the choice is harder, and the cost of failure is measured in loyalty, not lives. Manor Lords looks like a medieval city builder with some light tactics stapled on. Wrong. This is a systems-heavy strategy game built around scale, control, and constraint. You don't plop down buildings and watch the numbers go up. You're managing population directly, assigning them to jobs, moving them between tasks, watching the economy slow to a crawl because the oxen are stuck on a dirt path halfway across the map. The construction system is shaped by terrain, access and realism. Roads follow curves, fences snap to boundaries, fields need to be ploughed before they produce anything. There's beauty in the layout, but it's a byproduct of friction. Nothing here is instant. Every decision about production, labour or trade requires time to show results, and sometimes the only result is the delay. Then you zoom out, the map splits into territories. You can take land peacefully, or you can raise a militia and press the issue. Combat is slow, messy, and shaped by positioning more than micro. It exists to remind you that all this growth has consequences, not to test your APM. Manor Lords is still in early access, and the systems don't all connect cleanly yet, but even in this state it manages to do something that most city builders can't: make growth feel physical. Expansion happens out of necessity, not opportunity. Winter's coming and your villagers are working in shifts to keep everyone alive. The game focuses on whether things will hold together long enough for the next season rather than achieving perfection. Falling Frontier is a real-time strategy game set in space, but calling it that undersells what's being built here. The game focuses on controlling a war where intelligence, logistics and planning are more important than raw numbers or territorial control. Everything takes time. Every action depends on what you can see, what you've scouted, and what you can reach. The game runs in real time, but nothing happens instantly. Ships take minutes to change course, supply lines count, recon counts more. Terrain is replaced by orbital paths, line of sight, and station range. Every ship is a physical object with its own capabilities, crew, and vulnerabilities. Battles are rare, but when they happen, they're shaped by everything that led up to them: sensor data, fuel capacity, missed opportunities. You build and deploy from orbital stations, you scan planetary bodies, you track enemy movements with limited information and take risks based on what you think might be happening. You don't get a minimap filled with perfect intel, you get fog, silence and guesses. What distinguishes Falling Frontier isn't the systems, but how tightly everything is connected. Nothing is abstract, nothing is fast. If you lose a battle, it's because you planned badly, moved late, or misunderstood the situation. The game rewards patience, timing, and knowing when to act over reflexes. This project has been in development for years. It's been built by a tiny team with incredible attention to detail. Every ship animation, every interface panel, every system interaction looks like something someone obsessed over. The scale is massive, but it's grounded in realism and restraint. The game prioritizes plausibility over spectacle. There are bigger, flashier strategy games out there, but none of them are trying to do what this one is: Falling Frontier is the kind of title that justifies Tacticon's existence. Most of these games are discounted, some heavily. If you're tired of the same recycled mechanics wrapped in new art, this is where you find developers who are building something different. Check the festival page, ignore the obvious clickbait, and grab what looks interesting. Your wallet won't thank you, but you might find your next 100-hour obsession. Still here? Made it to the end? Thank you. Do me a favour and hit that subscribe button. And leave a comment. Go on, it won't hurt.